guys, TG here. I'm signing back on to the Attorney Trilogy. So we are still cross-examining Meekins. And, well, I'll go through his testimony before cross-examining. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had to use his card. So that is basically his current testimony. We're gonna press everything, so... So unlike your earlier testimony, you believe this to be rock solid, do you? Yes, sir! Solid as a stone, sir! If my hand was around the bandages... I didn't even give him the V for victory sign, sir. Couldn't he just use his right hand for that? Let's hear him out fully. As we've seen, one never knows what he might say until the very last second. Is that card hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir. This card right next to my cup, sir. I keep it here so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times that my tie gets stuck when I get out of my car? Well, there are many times it's my ID card that gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please, proceed with your testimony. An ID card is used as a record of it. Indeed, yes. Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to. Let me see. Yes, that would be it. Detective Goodman? What's the matter? According to this... Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here! So it is, Your Honor. Oh, that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. You've got the wrong color, kid. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. It must be so difficult for him. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. It didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked. Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? What? The problem with ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we got. So... okay. I feel like I need to present the ID card somewhere. But where? Here, apparently, because the music stopped. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not gonna waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID. A lost item report. It's only half completed. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe it's something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying around his card. Order! Order! So, now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. That the victim in this video is a fake. Then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... Well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Well, well. It seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means the murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot. At the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness? Questionable? Observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor.
Mr. Wright, you have to do something, or else Lana...
What do we do? How am I even supposed to get myself out of this mess? Well... we do. We do still have this Marshall's fingerprints there. So... Objection! One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Okay. Continuing. For some reason. Thank you. However, it cannot be said that this is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses would be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand.
Mr. Wright, do you mean...
Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh? Whom do you have in mind? Someone we have a reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then. Mr. Wright, this person whom you would have testify, what is his or her name? Sorry to do this, buddy, but... Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's requests. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. And we're back in the defendant lobby. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. I haven't figured anything out.
Lana, you're the one who knows everything.
Emma.
You always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright's trying his hardest to protect you.
I don't recall ever asking for his protection.
How can you be so cold?
Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hey, Gumshoe. How you doing? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh. Guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait! Detective Gumshoe! What is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey! 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 I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh. Oh. You mean this, right? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident?
But Lana, that's how Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here.
Here, you might do well to read them. Can't believe you, the chief prosecutor, were a witness in that case. Miss Sky was a witness? Files for the Joe Dark Killings. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now that I brought you this stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma? But why? Why is your name in here?
What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... Nah, couldn't be. Lana! This SL9 incident! Is that...
That's the classification number the police found it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Jill Dark killings.
Jill Dark?
No, Lana!
That's over with! No!
Emma, wait! She ran away. You know what? I just remembered I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, Mel, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. Everyone is involved. Everyone in this that has been involved in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident, which makes me wonder just one thing. My theory was that it was Jake Marshall who killed Goodman to frame Edgeworth or Lana. But Goodman was one of the detectives that got just as screwed after that case as Jake and Starr. Why would he kill one of his fellow detectives on that case? Oh my god. Jake, hope to God there's a good explanation for this. I hope to God, because we are getting nowhere right now. Let me... okay. Sentenced to death, Jill Dark, serial murder. Victims, Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeff Bass, Neil Marshall. Might be related to Jake. Trial data. Head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth. Lana and Emma Skye were witnesses. Task Force. Executive investigators. Damon Gunn and Lana Skye. Okay, she was one of the investigators. Head investigators Bruce Goodman. Head investigator was Bruce Goodman. The investigators were Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. Okay. What does Emma have to do with this? Lana was one of the executive investigators, along with Gant. What does Emma have to do with this? Okay. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know. You're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. The crime. Okay, sure, the crime. The crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? Desperado souls as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. My job is to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the roof's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hit the trail.
But then why were your fingerprints there?
Marshall, I'm gonna press anyway, but I think I know where to object. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines. Or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Okay. I'm gonna press everything, but I have an idea of where to present the fingerprints. Why were his prints in the evidence room? How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. The room's so still, even time dies in there. I was just the caretaker who interred the recordings. You interred them? Video's nothing not that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes were to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase the tape, felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. You said I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know join the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck on the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? You used to be a detective, so you used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism. Sorry, partner. I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a back works. That's quite, incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe says something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? Yeah, I was at a street side saloon. This is where I would present the fingerprints, but I'm gonna press in case there's anything. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel's steak lunches can beat that parlor's vango sepia pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edward says, "Did you not want to race this year?" Just an innocent traveling man, you're out of ammo. So if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. Okay, I know I said, but I have to. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. Oh, excuse me! Jesus! I did not mean to do that. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or, to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what is the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene. The blood was wiped away. However, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall. About the blood-stained fingerprints. Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints, found at the scene of the crime. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprints. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. That wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Okay, yeah, again, press on everything. I have to this time because I don't even know where to present anywhere in that testimony. And that's because you, how did you put it, pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What do you mean? I mean what I said. The locker I used when I was a detective, the locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never removed from the locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. That was Marshall's own locker, okay? So then, what about the bloody handprint? Was mine, no mystery. Please explain. My locker was covered with my fingerprints. It just so happened the murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. Chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna reward me with a mere You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Bloodstain are completely unrelated. Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do breakfast, the other's the type of murder. He's right. Although seemingly alike, they're totally different. I don't see what homonyms? Why did I struggle to say that? I had to do with this. How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. Keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. You starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? The seal of blood? In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. Security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad wasn't me in that videotape, right, partner? That's another thing. Would he really have been able to... No. Well, yeah, I have to look at the tape. The light's already on. Yeah, wearing gloves and Goodman's outfit. Do you get even a smidge look at his face? No. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence that in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. What? I just said... Whatever. You expect me to be able to... What fucking evidence is there? I mean, I could go frame by fucking frame, but that ain't gonna do nothing because you can't really see anything that proves it's Marshall. Oh boy. Okay, Besides the fingerprints, but that's already been kind of disproved in a way. He could have been in there. Okay. this is actually a good question. How long do fingerprints last? There's no scientific way to know how long a fingerprint will last. Fingerprints have been developed on surfaces that have not been touched in over 40 years, yet not developed on a surface that was handled very recently. Ugh, so basically, who the fuck knows? Okay, let me review the tape, just to be safe. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the videotape. Show us... let's pause. Thank you. Oh, wait! These are... okay. Wait. There was a... don't think we'll be able to see it here, but there was a cloth hanging from this locker. I probably... okay, here... oh. Probably need to fast forward to after... aha! Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake. I'm afraid you'll forget not soon. You won't forget this, motherfucker. I'm sorry, Jake. Actually, I do kind of like you as a character, but I gotta do my job. Days are short in Texas. So are tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. If only we could do this faster, but, yeah. Oh, the white cloth! It's gone! What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order! Order! It would seem that this is the only... hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. Man, you're gonna drive me insane at this point. Do we forget about the fingerprints? The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Fingerprints, you dumbass. Again, I really liked you as a character, but... Nah. I ain't taking this. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who could open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say open that locker? Now prove it. Fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the lockers aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! Okay, again, being dramatic, but yeah. Order! 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 Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst one I ever heard. I assure you, this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. The time of the past. Olay, please answer the question. Oh, Olay? I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about Texas, not Mexico. I'm just used to that being like a... That's probably not actually something like... No, not Mexico. Spain. It'd be Spain. I'm dumb. The Matador and stuff. That's probably not actually what happens during those bullfights. I'm not sure if Olay really is an actual thing that gets shouted there. But the guy keeps talking about Texas. We're talking about Texas, not Spain. What do you see now, a bullfighter? Exactly! Thank you! That's right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Oh, I should have saved. Oh dear. Okay. Well, like I said, there are blind spots. So the only thing it would be to say is that he was the supposed victim. Officer Marshall was standing right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in this video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman? He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? Did you have to add that to the flashback? He suddenly pulled a knife on me! Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. Can't say I care for your beard, but you don't seem to complain. You already said something about the beard. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of the doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who shouldn't take the desert heat. Who couldn't take the desert heat, actually. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open this locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it had been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our answered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Oh, okay. Blood! The blood that got on the coat! Oh, okay. Okay. He shoved the coat in. That's what the cloth is. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Still don't know why to any of this. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. Seems the time's come. I had to do it that day. Couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole a detective's ID and dressed like him. Planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. Knocked him out. And managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with that transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When the case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I want to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why... Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But you could because of rubber gloves just happened to get stuck on the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. Why did Edward get so much influence? Anyway, threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. Sorry I had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything? By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and... managed to escape in which areas when you found the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. Security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, both of you weren't doing your job. Oh boy. But the blood found on the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What, are you blind? The victim shown in that tape is me. Now I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edward, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. You can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one's mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget that SL9 incident. You know why? No, actually. Would you care to tell us? But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down that trap. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I'd better take another look at the files. Victim Marshall. That's it. Neil Marshall. That's it, isn't it? Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SO9 incidents. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SO9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. A prosecutor? He must be talking about the Keenan Prosecutor's Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. Well, what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders of Damon Gaines, then Deputy Chief of Police. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Doc. My brother fought Doc and was killed. That was the first time Doc left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Doc. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SO9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. And no murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happened by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on in the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than that. Why did Damon Gunn say it was a murder, though? Why did he say that Detective Goodman was murdered at the... What did you do, Gant? You were executive investigator along with Alana. And you had to have worked with Edgeworth. Neil and Edgeworth. But if Marshall didn't get killed by Dark, who did? So if no one was murdered at the police department on the... Okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. My mom may have sprayed a bit too much of the non-stick spray onto the pan of tater tots that she was making. Because the tots themselves look fine. So that's that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky.
Objection!
But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial.
Objection!
Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me, this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved. No doubt about it. One sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Star is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. Ah! I rest my case. It seems the straw has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security tapes really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time of the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant
This is an objection! A scientific objection! Right?
What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh, innocence.
Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please.
I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3.
I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings?
Now she mentions it. The names of both Sky Sisters were in that file.
But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day? So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint.
You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So, I ran over there and looked at it again.
So, did you find something?
No. Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all.
Is that all?
Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student.
And I'm just an attorney.
But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you.
Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this?
Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be...
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If we ever needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I have no doubt of that. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something's missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yeah, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. Question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans?
Oh yeah! This! We still haven't found the other piece, and there's blood on it!
As they say back west, even a blind man can hit with a buckshot. That is, so long as he's facing general direction. It seems the Troy's not sure which direction to face. It's no use. The more evidence there is, the greater the chance of me being wrong.
What? Excuse me?
What the evidence room was like on the day of the crime. What is it that bothers me about this blood mark? Please allow me another chance, Your Honor. I'll prove it this time.
Why? Blue Badger. It all ties into this damn Blue Badger, doesn't it?
What about that piece of plywood?
The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force?
Defender of truth, guardian of proof?
Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here.
So?
So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime.
Well, what?
That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. Ugh.
So that means, just what exactly does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me. I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, I think it through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in?
Just one moment. I would not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my court.
It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation.
On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice.
But how?
One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell.
The problem is, the other time.
So there were 2 murders in the evidence room.
Goodman was killed there.
Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered.
That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim.
The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be fake.
However,
that doesn't explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport is really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred.
When did the first incident occur?
Okay, to summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room.
That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves this.
Very well. Then tell us. When did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edwards said, proof must be presented.
Proof that shows when the murder took place.
There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence?
The autopsy case died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. This is the proof!
It's quite simple, you see. If it's so simple, then don't get it wrong.
What? Excuse me? How is that not the proof? It literally says right here, he died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. Is this the evidence needed?
where the Blue Badger was brought into the room, right? When was the Blue Badger brought there anyway? Don't we have a chart listing a bunch? Yeah. I thought it would be the autopsy because it's like, yeah, he died within this time, but oh, it's this. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card. Oh! The ID card record! This is... We know that this is Edgeworth, this is Meekins twice, this is Goodman. Technically, Jake Marshall. But who is this up top at 420? Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger into the panel room goddamn Badger into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40. Miles Edgeworth! Just what have you done? Look at the one before that, please, before you go. I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I get it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol blood test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. But 20 minutes? Possibly. Or, no, 20, yeah. Because Miles Edgeworth went in at 4:40. So the killer, this 7777777 would have had 20 minutes. That's a bit more reasonable time? And that would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at that chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 7777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sevens! Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 777777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 77 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Gaunt! Someone who's a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous! Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay, let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her. The defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7 sevens. Don't blame me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The Also 9 incident. Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor?
I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth.
2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did.
Lana!
I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we weren't the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me, an investigator in that crime, and in the eye, and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't!
I don't have to, Officer Marshall.
Why won't you answer him?
Drastic crimes require drastic measures.
That's just the way it is.
We did what we had to,
in order for him to get the verdict he deserved.
But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence.
See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. Indicated that I did not mean to do that. We would have to wait until the following day. There's still more to this. It's gotta be Gaunt! It's gotta be fucking Gaunt! But the question is, why?
February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright & Co. Law Offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said.
Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved.
I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings.
Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me.
Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me.
What do you mean what happened to you?
It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence.
But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma?
On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Drake tried to kill me.
What, he tried to kill you? So Marshall was protecting Emma.
Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me.
So that means you...
Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial.
I didn't see that one coming. Oh, boy.
It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day. Unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then, suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office.
Joe Dark.
Seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up.
Jake Marshall's brother?
Joe Dark tried to take me hostage. But before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then,
what happened?
I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now.
Permanent picture? What did you see in the instant that crime occurred?
Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Little Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You must have been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good.
2 years ago.
You must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies, and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any.
I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime.
Remember the moment when Dirk stabbed Mr. Marshall?
So you weren't able to testify about that?
No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime.
Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence?
The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it.
Edgeworth?
Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it.
He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence.
Even so, that's when it all started.
The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean.
It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened.
So it's true. Even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence.
After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today.
She must not have been able to face up to what she did. Especially not to Emma. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma.
What is it?
You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right?
That's right.
Why then would a serial killer come running in there?
Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day.
Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police?
Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office.
But why did he run all the way to your sister's office?
Because the detective's offices in the questioning room are right across from the elevator.
Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she?
No, silly! Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force.
What? That's news to me!
After the Jill Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor.
Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. She's still in the detention center, most likely.
Lana...
Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, why should we?
But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty.
Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you.
Oh?
About how you were a detective 2 years ago. And how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right? Could you fill me in on the details? Especially about that unusual change of jobs. I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago.
She was amazing! They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together.
Chief Gant? He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant, he was everything I aspired to be.
You were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister.
But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened?
I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could use that experience in court, right? Gaunt's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago.
A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago.
Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much.
I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be.
That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth.
It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department.
Tell me it's not true, Lana! What the witness, Miss Starr, said! About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife! Lana, I don't understand! Why won't you tell us?
Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the investigation lead was Damon Gaunt, right?
Yes, Deputy Chief Gaunt and I shared the same office, and the same investigations.
They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force.
Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jack Marshall, and Angel Starr.
It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother.
He was quite gung-ho.
Without a doubt, Joe Dark was a serial killer.
We asked him to come in for questioning.
We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma.
Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark.
You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me.
Now you tell us.
Damon Gaunt and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gaunt and Marshall let the guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Chief Gaunt and myself.
That's where he found me.
So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana.
It appears so.
I was filing some papers while Gaunt and Marshall were questioning Dark.
When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood.
3 bodies?
Prosecutor Marshall,
the victim Emma who had passed out,
and the suspect,
Joe Dark.
During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious.
What did you do?
To be honest, I panicked.
I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her.
Can't blame her after all her sister must have gone through.
After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident?
That's right. Quite a coincidence,
I don't buy it.
What are you saying?
There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident just by chance.
But that case was solved 2 years ago.
At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved.
Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced of the ruling against Joe Dark.
Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. A case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gaunt and I shared. The office that Mr. Gaunt occupies by himself. The office that Mr. Gaunt now occupies by himself. The chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office. The site of the final SO9 murder. Indeed, indeed. February 24th. Police Station. Criminal Affairs Department. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The chief of detectives seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. February 24th. Police Department. Entrance. Howdy, Bambina.
Oh, Mr. Marshall!
I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Yes, sir. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck could run out when old Billy dried up this morning.
Really?
Must be his big cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner.
But, Mr. Marshall, why did you do it?
Why did the prospectors head west? If there ever was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. No, not today. Apologies. We haven't run into Miss Starr. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joel Dog's, alright. But the initial autopsy report, a question was raised.
A question?
The blade on the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there is a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us.
The scars that the SO9 incident left behind.
There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that case investigation every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. Nah, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. They?
Who are you talking about?
Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Sky. The investigation lead, Damon Gant, and his second in command, Lana Sky. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the after the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she's left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Sky was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too.
Tell me, what happened to my sister?
Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. I got the looks, but he got the brains. I don't know. If we're gonna compare, he actually looks better than you. I'm sorry. He kind of does. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together.
How old was he?
Your brother. He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You mean the getting the prosecutors? I know it. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother.
The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as...
That's right. It was the day of the evidence transfer.
Interesting.
It was drizzling that morning. By nightfall, there was thunder. Can't believe 2 years have gone by already. Tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die.
Apparently someone tried to stop you.
Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. It's all pointing towards Gaunt. The question is why? So there you have it. That's my story. Do you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in the court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used the falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. And yeah, it's all pointing to Gant. Again, why though? Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina.
February 24th, Prosecutor's Office. Underground parking lot.
No one's here today. Not even Miss Starr.
Everyone's probably busy looking at what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are.
But we proved in court today that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m.
Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case.
But instead it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty.
Hang in there, Lana.
I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. Edgy! You here?
Got some questions for ya.
Oh, never mind.
Mr. Edgeworth isn't here.
Maybe he's being questioned by an inquiry committee? He took a real beating in court today.
Yeah, with Lana admitting to testifying evidence 2 years ago.
I guess we'll just have to come back later. Okay.
February 24th, Police Station. Criminal Affairs Department.
This place is always pretty empty, but today is deserted.
That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes.
Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room.
Thanks.
Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do. About Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement in the media and tomorrow's trial. There's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those.
Sir? We'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office.
Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor.
Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything.
Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office.
Whoa. Fucking organ. Why?
Not just that. A grand pipe organ.
Someone's flashy.
February 24th, Police Department, Chief's Office.
Whoa. Where am I?
In the chief's office, silly. At least it's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was.
Oh, it's you two.
Chief Gaunt! He put that paper he was reading on his desk.
So, righto, have you been swimming lately?
No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately.
I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full, too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct. And Lana's provocative statement.
Provocative statement?
Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies! See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me.
So this is Mr. Marshall's brother. Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
We took it to commemorate our work together.
Something's not right with this picture. Can't quite seem to put my finger on it. I can. Where's the sword? Got team picture added to the court record. Gaunt used the sword from the trophy to kill Marshall? Again, why? This is all questioning. The only question I have now is why?
Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together.
Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend.
Looks like we aren't welcome. Seems the case isn't over with yet, after all. What do you mean?
Chief Gaunt denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there.
You mean like a clue?
There's gotta be a way we can get inside the chief's office. February 24th, Police Station, Criminal Affairs Department. Hey, pal.
Hey.
Detective Gumshoe, aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I'm, just taking a breather. My feet hurt.
From sitting so long?
Actually, from serving everyone coffee.
Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop.
Say, have any of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battle's between you two in court.
That sounds serious. It's because of what my sister said.
That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago? Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood.
Yikes.
But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor has kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now with this...
Are there really so many people who hate him?
In our world, Only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work! Yes, sir! Let's go for lunch again sometime. My treat! Yes, sir! You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir! It seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl? Me. Seems Detective Gunshoe never realized Demna was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what is it? Oh, let's see. I think it has something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Maybe. About this. Hey, is that? It has a tag attached to it with the label SO9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since the case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what is it, Detective? Quick! Before you forget again! Press the burn button. This knife, it was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus, it had his fingerprints on it, too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where he's look right now. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well, anyway. Take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet, down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take to serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So, it was an accident? An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed a man that witnessed the accident. Then he killed a lady who saw the second crime. Kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then, when he was burying the bodies, a jogger came upon the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Though, of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So he turned himself in. Yeah, but in the middle of questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. The crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Dark was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness was killed. That last witness, aka Emma. Well, there you have it, in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gaunt. Well, it's not money, but it does concern the Chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The Chief's out now, and his office is locked. Well, we'd like to have a look around, if that's okay. Well, a detective's ID card can unlock the door.
What? Really?
But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust.
Breach of trust?
Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you.
How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's.
That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died.
Oh.
So, in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into the office.
I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind. Like the picture?
Still advice. If you don't have a clue, keep your trap shut. Keep that in mind. Okay, so, no. About that jar. I think I've seen it somewhere before.
Somewhere?
Or maybe it's just one of those memories people have from previous lives.
This must be the most uninformative detective I've ever met.
Something about it makes me feel uneasy. It's like I'm in the chief's office and he's yelling at me.
Chief Gaunt?
Where could I have seen that before? I wouldn't know. Hey, that's it! That's the Kid Prosecutor's Award that Mr. Edward got the other day.
Were you at the award ceremony, Detective Gumshoe?
Of course, pal. I got an award for diligence myself.
Ah.
Congratulations.
I was wondering, why is the award a shield? And why is it broken?
Oh, there's a reason. I'll tell you what it is later. Apparently he's forgotten. Okay. I've been studying up on those files. There's nothing wrong with Mr. Edward's presentation. To think people accusing him of injustice. I ain't buying it for... I've wanted buying it.
Looking into the case for Mr. Edgeworth?
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal while it was going on, you know? After all, a serial killer was on the loose.
Lana was pretty clear in her confession.
She forged evidence in order to prove Joe Dark guilty.
Hang on.
Lana.
Attorneys and prosecutors have no business showing evidence outside of court. It's taboo.
Lana. Well, she ain't talking. Which means there's still something to show Gumshoe. This guy almost made us lose the case today. What are you talking about? He was guarding the bloodstain on that evidence locker with his life. That's more than you can say about most officers nowadays.
Would have saved us a lot of trouble if he hadn't guarded it so well.
I have to admit, he's right though. Thanks to the Blue Badger, we were able to prove another possibility today. Possibility that another murder took place prior to 5:15 p.m. Found Mr. Mentor's car with his knife, huh? What would drive Chief Prosecutor's guy to do such a thing?
Oh, damn it. You know Officer Marshall?
Of course I do. It was like a mentor to me. When I first started out, he even gave me a small cactus.
Really?
He said, Dick, she'll listen to all your troubles.
Note to self, Detective Gumshoe talks to a cactus.
Hard to believe he's just a patrolman now. Someone ought to trade places with him. What? Why are you looking at me like that? No locker can be opened without a fingerprint match. Besides, there's no reason for the murderer to touch his own locker.
Hey, wasn't your locker the one with the blood on it, Detective?
The handprint of the real murderer's gloved hand. Without any fingerprints. Shh! If you come to arrest me, you'll defend me, won't you? If that happens, I think you'll do better pleading with Edgeworth. Wonder if Edgy's back. Yep. February 24th. Prosecutor's office, room 1202. Wonder if Edgeworth is back yet.
There he is! Looks like he's writing something.
What are you doing here? Sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with rumors flying around. What's another allegation of me?
Sure, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you.
That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. So, what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error, my responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same, no matter what excuses I might have.
Mr. Edgeworth.
I take pride in my work. So tell me why. Why has it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered. You were participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one.
Because you were awarded this.
Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished off at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department.
You finished up at the office?
Yes, just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back.
Take something back?
This.
Oh yeah! Chief Gunn asked you to hold on to that, didn't he?
Yes, it was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to. That's right. You up for the trial tomorrow? First last year's trial and now this one. Seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves.
Would one night in bed together help you out?
Oh, man. I'd... like... Okay.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial!
Tomorrow's the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. Oh, but that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? The list of evidence. It seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists? That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but I knew what I had to do. use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. That was really the only thing on my mind at the time.
Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time.
A picture?
Something seems strange about it.
Yeah. Again. What happened to the broken sword? We're missing Zacian with the Zamazenta. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He had just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he used to receive the King of Prosecutors trophy.
Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me.
Yes?
The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding. It's a little different than yours.
But yes, you're right. Ah, I remember now. Remember what? That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. There's a story behind this design.
A story?
Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with 2 characters. The first means halberd. The second means shield. Have you heard the story? Me? Sure, everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though? For Emma's sake. Very well. Even though I know you don't know it, you daft idiot. Long ago, in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with 2 items. The first was a halberd he claimed could slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute. Those claims contradict each other! We're nodding. Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard the story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very description of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word for contradiction was born.
Oh, I see! So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize...
Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words, but it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this.
Wow! Thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today.
That's funny. If that's so, why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Chief Gant. Yes, again, it is all coming back to Chief Gant!
Can we go back to his office now? Do you know anything about this? Nope.
Well, technically, we did get a reaction out of him. February 24th. Prosecutor's office. Underground parking lot.
Excuse me.
Oh, Miss Starr.
Would either of you care for a quarter pounder of roast beef?
Miss Starr! I guess she's out of lunches.
You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow's nipple to discover milk.
Don't know if I need to know that, but okay.
Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago.
Everyone in this trial was involved in the SO9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence. Aren't you forgetting something?
You know, that little scene I happened to witness?
The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with the knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten. Star's hatred toward Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago. Yep, when she was fired. But I'll have to end the episode here. Next episode, fucking God's sake, I am going to find out why Gaunt did it. It's the last thing I do. That doesn't mean I'll end the playthrough when we do that. There's still 2 more games to play, but you know what I mean. Gaunt did it, and I'm gonna find out why. So, till then, I'm signing off. Bye-bye.